You guys, what did I just watch? Has the MCU jumped the shark? This one is a mess. Let's talk about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the brand new Marvel film Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And when I say spoiler-free, I mean it. I'm going to give you the most basic of plot synopses as to not spoil really anything here. I was lucky enough to be able to see this about 24 hours before the general public can. So, I'm going to tread real lightly with my spoilers. Don't worry. There are really none. I will talk about the Marvel properties I think you might want to watch before you check out this movie. So you have sort of a base for what some of the characters are up to. But other than that, we're not going to really do spoilers. I'm going to talk sort of in generalities about my feelings with this movie. I do want to welcome you into Dan Reviews It, though, before we get started with my review. Thank you for finding this video. We do TV and movie reviews more or less every day here. Usually there's 5 or 6 a week on the channel, so plenty of stuff to check out. I try to hit all of the new movies as well, so check out some of that stuff. But let's get into this. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So the general plot synopsis is this. So Doctor Strange, played once again by Benedict Cumberbatch, and his buddies travel into the multiverse to protect a young girl named America, played by Xochitl Gomez, I want to say. And anyway, they are defending against Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, who will stop at nothing to have her plan go forward. So, yes, Wanda from WandaVision, of course. That's, the most recent thing, really, that we saw her in. But, of course, she goes back to some of the old Avengers movies. But you, I think, would benefit from watching at least WandaVision before this movie. I think the two main things, Doctor Strange, #1, and WandaVision. I think those are probably the two most important things to check out. There's a few other things, maybe, but surprisingly, Spiderman No Way Home, which Doctor Strange played pretty heavily into, is not really needed at all for this story. It is mentioned a little bit what happens in that movie. There's like a sentence, but you don't really need to watch it. I would say, on Disney Plus, WandaVision for sure, and then Doctor Strange #1. So, in launching into this, I will say that I saw this with 5 other people at this showing, and I liked it the least out of everybody. But I also liked Doctor Strange 1 the best out of everybody in the group. So, take this for what it is. If you liked the first Doctor Strange, maybe this will be not quite up your alley, but, if you really thought Doctor Strange 1 didn't give him enough characterization and whatnot, maybe you'll like this one a little bit more. Also, if you are a fan of Sam Raimi's, I think you may dig this more than maybe the typical Marvel stuff. Sam Raimi, to my knowledge, has never directed a Marvel movie before, and he in fact was not the original director of this. They had not started filming yet when he came aboard, but the script was in process and all of that. So, all right, but Sam Raimi definitely has his touches here for sure, including bringing on one of his frequent music collaborators, Danny Elfman. Now, Danny has done Age of Ultron. He did the score for that, so he's not brand new to Marvel, but that's the only one he's done, and he also plays both sides of the fence because he also did the score for the Justice League movie for DC Comics. So, but look, the score, it is certainly erratic and odd, probably, for an Avengers-type movie, for a Marvel movie, but this whole movie is odd. This is not really your typical Marvel movie, and I think there's positives and negatives to that. So the supporting cast here includes Rachel McAdams, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Benedict Wong, and, of course, as the Scarlet Witch, Elizabeth Olsen, reprises that role. So when I said up front that maybe, they have jumped the shark here in the MCU, that this is a mess, I think both of those statements are true. We're currently in phase 4 of the Marvel Universe, and to be honest, there's only one movie that's not Spider-Man related, because I guess 2 of the 6 movies or whatever have been Spider-Man. But Eternals was just awful, worst of the MCU entirely. And then Black Widow, I gave it a B+, but I think that's actually generous. It was very, very average. I just liked Black Widow getting her own movie, but it was nothing special at all. The TV stuff right now is where the Marvel Universe, I think, is going and should be going. I honestly think, and I know they're propping movie theaters up. Spider-Man No Way Home certainly did, and as a movie theater employee, we appreciate you guys, Marvel, but you got to stop for a little bit on the movies, because this Phase 4 is, in my mind, not going too well, at least in the film version. TV, yes, most of the TV shows I think have hit quite well. In fact, WandaVision is one of the best things, in my opinion, they've ever done. And so the fact that plays so heavily into a mediocre film, strikes me as a bit of a missed opportunity. But so this movie, narratively, is all over the place. Tonally, really all over the place. And some of the visual components, Doctor Strange 1 had so many cool visual elements to it. And here, I think they tried, but it just wasn't working for me as well in terms of the visual cohesion. I didn't think the effects looked that great in some instances. Also, we just got sort of a multiverse thing with the Spider-Man movie. So obviously they're kind of playing off of that. But, do we need 2 movies in a row with that same concept? I don't know. And then narratively, the movie's just a complete mess. They never really quite, I think, captured what could be the most fun about the multiverse is the different universes. They went to a couple, maybe 3 that they stayed in regularly, and they were okay. I don't want to, again, this is not spoilers, but there is one sort of montage scene where they're traveling through, and that was a lot of fun. But they never stayed too long in any of those, and so we get what we get with it. But look, I'll be upfront and say I don't always understand all of the different layers to the Doctor Strange stuff anyway. I did think the first one was a bit confusing. I thought a little bit of No Way Home was a little bit confusing. So I went into this fully expecting I wasn't going to quite get everything that was going on. But at the same time, I think Marvel has a sequel problem, specifically with number 2s. Thor 2 is by far the worst of the 3. Iron Man 2 is not my least favorite, but for many people it is. The Ant-Man and the Wasp I didn't think was that good. Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain America are sort of the 2 that buck that trend. Captain America 2 is I think the best one of the series, and then Guardians 2 is not quite up to par with the first one, but it's not a steep decline. And then for the Tom Holland movies, I think the second one is the weakest. So I wasn't really expecting to enjoy this one maybe as much as the first one, but I loved WandaVision, and I knew from the trailer that Elizabeth Olsen was in this, and really from the tag scene at the end of No Way Home, which was essentially a trailer for this, Wanda was there too. So I was like, okay, cool. I can follow this because I loved WandaVision so much. And I can't say that it desecrates what that show was, but it's just such a letdown the ways that they chose to use that character, I felt. So let's talk a few of the positives. Or I guess maybe one more negative, and that is the horror tone of this movie. When you have Sam Raimi, sure, we can expect that sometimes. He's done, obviously, a lot of horror movies. It's some of his bread and butter. But, look, he also did those Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. He did Oz, the Great and Powerful. This, in the last 40 minutes or so, becomes, in many ways, like a straight-up horror film. And if you see it, you'll know exactly what I mean. I'm not going to give spoilers to what I'm referring to specifically. But it's odd to me because every Marvel movie is PG-13. And most of them, my nephews, who many of them are 10 and under, can appreciate and watch. And, oh, Spider-Man, oh, Black Panther, cool. this is not for little kids. It's really not. I mean, it is a Marvel movie disguised, or I guess a horror movie disguised as a Marvel movie. But only for that last, 30 or 40 minutes. The rest of it, not so much. So there's, a big tonal question mark there as to why they went in that direction, other than, okay, we have Sam Raimi directing, what else are we going to do? Also, some of the cameos, there were a lot of cameos in this from, other Marvel properties and just in general. And, maybe too many, I don't know. In my mind, I thought to myself, well, are they just throwing in this many because the script is a mess and they want to give somebody something to cheer for? Maybe. It's not that I disliked seeing certain people, but it seemed a little bit like shoehorned in to appeal to people that maybe aren't appreciating the story or understanding the story or whatever. All right, but let's get to the positive. I think the biggest positives of this film are the story arcs between three of the main characters. Doctor Strange himself, the Scarlet Witch, and the Rachel McAdams character. I think all three of them got real, especially, look, Rachel McAdams was barely even in the first one. She has much more to do here. I think she's much better utilized, for sure, and I liked that. And I liked some of the emotional aspect, and look, Benedict Wong, I always love seeing him. He's one of the shining moments of this whole franchise, for sure. So, and that's great. And they all gave great performances, particularly Cumberbatch doing several different versions of Doctor Strange, is often in the same scene. So I'll give them props for that, absolutely. But those are the best things really I can say about it. And I guess it was fun in certain spots. But when compared to some of the best of the MCU, not nearly as fun as a lot of them. It does only run a cool 2 hours and 2 minutes. So I'll give them that they at least were a little more brief than some other recent Marvel movies, Eternals specifically, but Black Widow and Spiderman were also, in that 2.5 hour range. And then, the end credit scene is great. So definitely this is one you do want to stay till the end for. And unlike Spider-Man No Way Home, it's not just a cheap trailer for the next movie. It is something that ties into the current movie, and it's a lot of fun. So, okay, cool. A few positives, but for the most part, this was a mess of a movie. It's definitely no Eternals. That is, remaining the worst of the MCU, but this has got to be down there in my bottom 3 or 5, at least. I will, for now, leave Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness with a C. Well, like I said, I liked it the least of everybody in our group, so maybe I'm the oddball, but, if you watch my channel enough, you kind of know where you fall in line with my sensibilities. Do you usually agree with me? Do you usually think I'm out to lunch? Judge for yourself. Visually, I think this one had some interesting things, but also some issues for sure that I didn't quite have with the first one. So, all right, that will do it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see everybody next time. Bye.